Hi everyone, my name is Erin Meyer. I am the Sustainable Food Programs Coordinator at the University of California, Merced. We're here today in observance of National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. We're going to be talking to Katie from the film The Starfish Throwers about hunger and homelessness and how we all can get involved. And I think this will be a very hopeful discussion. The film is a very hopeful thing about such a gargantuan topic. So I'm excited to be here and I'm excited that you all joined us. And Katie, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. My name is Katie Stagliano. I am the founder and chief executive gardener of Katie's Crops. And I was in the film The Starfish Throwers. So I started Katie's Crops when I was 9 years old, and I grew a 40-pound cabbage and donated it to a soup kitchen where it helped to feed 275 people. And then after seeing how many people my one cabbage helped to feed, I thought, imagine how many people a garden could feed. And that is what inspired me to start Katie's Crops. We are a national nonprofit that empowers youth to start vegetable gardens and donate their produce to soup kitchens, homeless shelters, and families in need. So we currently have over 100 vegetable gardens growing in over 25 states across the United States. They're all started and run by kids. All the produce is donated to those in need in their communities. And since we began in 2009, we have donated over 450,000 pounds of produce.
Wow. I can't even wrap my head around that quantity.
It's crazy to think about, especially thinking about how everything got started and where we are now, 450,000 pounds of produce. It's incredible.
Yeah, so that's a good starting question. Where are you now? Where is Katie Crops since the film has been? What kind of changes have you gone through, especially with the pandemic? How has the pandemic treated you?
So there's a lot of changes that have happened since the film. We've definitely expanded more across the United States, started more vegetable gardens. I honestly, when we did the film, I can't remember how many gardens we had, but I know we definitely have grown a lot more. Now we have 100 growing, and we've gotten kids really from all over the United States involved. Our goal is to be in all 50 states, but right now we're in just over 25 states. And we have also kind of switched some of our models due to the pandemic. So for one, when we brought new growers on in 2020, we actually used a model where we sent out all-inclusive grower boxes to youth, and so that they had everything that they needed to start gardens in their communities in this one box. And that way they could start the garden in their backyard. They would always have access to the garden so they could share the produce to those who needed it most. So that was a little bit of a switch from previously when we would give out gift cards to garden supply stores. We just sent them everything that we needed in these boxes. So we did that. We also switched the way that we did our meal distribution. So we have been doing the Katie's Crops dinners for the past 11 years. And these are free garden to table dinners based on produce that we grow in the gardens. Whatever we cannot grow, we purchase, and we create these delicious meals. They're hot, healthy, fresh, and free to anyone in need in the community. And these used to be sit-down meals that we would do once a month for about 150 to 250 individuals. And when COVID hit, we obviously couldn't have that many people gathered together in one room. So we switched our model and we decided to do drive-through meal distributions. So we, in 2020, did these meal distributions every week. And we would, same thing, prepare the meals, but we would box them up into go boxes and pass them to individuals through car windows. So we would do 600 meals once a week in 2020 and did that for the entire year. We served over 18,000 meals to the community. And this year we do these same distributions, and I think we'll continue on for the near future with this new model. And we still do 600 meals. We do them every other week this year. And we also do deliver 200 plus meals to individuals that are homebound, who are in quarantine, or who are struggling with COVID currently.
That's fantastic. One thing you made me think of, how do you engage students in gardening?
We have just some awesome youth who are engaged across the United States. And we engage a lot of students with our grower program. So we have a family of Katie's Crops growers. They are between the ages of 7 and 16, and they can apply to become growers. We actually have a grower search open right now, so this is perfect. If y'all know of anybody between the ages of 7 and 16 who is interested in starting a garden in their community and donating the produce to those in need, all the information is on our website, so they can go to our website. There is the application. You fill it out, just kind of telling us about why you want to start a garden, where you'll start your garden, where you'll donate your produce, just background information like that. And in 2022, we're going to welcome 12 new Katie's Crops growers to our growing family. So our growing family is amazing. They're just the most incredible youth who are very passionate about ending hunger in their communities. They have their gardens in their backyards. There's garden at schools, boys and girls clubs, churches, in places in the community. Anywhere where these youth have access to land is where they can start these gardens. And it's up to them where they donate their produce to as well. So wherever they see the greatest need in their community is where they will donate their produce to. So that's one way that we engage a tremendous amount of youth. We have a lot of school gardens as well. So those gardens will engage multiple students in classes, lots of different classes, different age groups involved as well. And we also, where I'm based in Somerville, South Carolina, we have our flagship garden here. And so we engage thousands of individuals and youth and families with our flagship garden. We can have all these people come up and volunteer. So we do weekly volunteer garden mornings on Wednesdays and do all sorts of things in the garden, get the kids involved that way. And we also have an outdoor classroom that is open, free to anyone to come and join our classes. And so we do a variety of different classes in the garden. We do story time in the garden, arts and crafts. We've done soap making, cooking, using produce from the garden. We do science classes, just kind of a little bit of everything, showing how the garden is just such a wonderful place to learn. There's so many lessons you can learn from the garden. So we do that as well. And we have children as young as 2 that regularly come up to the garden and come up to these classes and are engaged and involved and just so amazing.
That's beautiful. I have some follow-up questions, but Priya, you had a question. Is that the one in chat? Are these community gardens? Anyone can participate?
Yes, and also my question is there, if they don't have a backyard bigger than that, that's my question, like, can they go there, spend their time? I used to live in California, where they have a little patch, like veggie patch or, whatever they have, and then they can rent it for $5 a month, and then they can do their own gardening. And then give their produce or use whatever they want. Is it something like that? That's my question.
So the youth who start the gardens, it's really wherever they have space to start the garden. So if they don't have space at their home or they don't want to start the garden at their home, they can, wherever they can gain access to land. I don't know if we have any youth that participate in kind of the areas where you can buy a plot of land and kind of use that, but I know that we do have some youth who have participated in community gardens like that. And then it's really up to them as well as whether or not they want to invite the community to be involved and to come out and help them. I know a lot of youth do reach out to the community and say, you're more than welcome to come out to the garden and help us, but it's kind of up to each individual grower as to where they start their garden and wherever they can gain access to land. We love the creativity. We have kind of utilize, we've had gardens on rooftops before for people who lived in New York and they didn't have any other spaces and things like that. So it's really up to our growers.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and if anyone else has questions too, you can put them in the chat or you can just raise your hand. Feel free. Otherwise, I can ask a few of my questions. Awesome. Okay, I will move on to some of mine. So There was a couple of moments in there where you talked about like keeping the flame alive in the film and everything. And this work can be really challenging, like seeing homeless folks, homeless children, feeding hungry children. It's really rewarding, but it's also really hard to see those folks going hungry. So how do you avoid burnout? How do you keep going?
It can be incredibly difficult, especially because I have grown so close with all the individuals and families that I help. They've really become like a second family to me, and I feel so connected with them. So, especially when someone's going through such a tough time, it can be so incredibly difficult. I think something for me is just remembering that even though there's sometimes where maybe the work that I'm doing may not be the best fit for what their needs are, I always know someone that, and at least in my community, that I can refer them to. And maybe it's not something that we do at Katie's Crops, but I can say this organization would be an amazing fit to help you. And I have friends that can help you with this. And so it always feels amazing to know that there's different people that I can turn to. And I think also just remembering that sometimes you cannot help every single person, but you are making a huge impact towards the greater good. It is so incredibly tough though, because whenever there's just a time where I see someone and they're really down and they're really struggling, I want to do everything I can to help them. And sometimes that's just not possible. And it's just important to remind yourself that there will be times like that, but the work that we're doing and the impact that we're making is also so important for so many people. But it is something that I definitely struggle with. So I try to, if it's not something that I can help with, to find somebody that can help them or refer them to somebody that might be able to help with whatever they need, because I do really want to be someone that people in the community know that they can come to with their problems and know that I will be there to help, or if I can't help, that I will find someone who can help them.
Where did you get this helping mentality? It's beautiful. I don't know how you answer that. Like, I don't know if there's even an answer to this question, but it's like, I mean, all that you're saying is so inspirational. Do your parents play a role in any of that?
My parents they're so incredible. And they have always instilled in my brother and I, just from such a young age, that there's nothing that we can't do. And so I think when I was 9 years old and I had just grown my cabbage and all of this was beginning, it was really cool because I didn't see obstacles in things. I didn't look at things and say, oh, well, if I want to do that, this might happen, or this might happen. Instead, I thought, well, this will be so incredible. And I just saw the positives of it. And I think that's super amazing, the way that you think, where youth don't see the obstacles, instead they see the possibilities. And so I think having such supportive parents and kind of being in that mindset of this is going to be so amazing. I know exactly the difference that I want to be able to make, and I know that I can do it. And them standing behind me 100%, saying, you got this. How can we help you? How can we make this happen? Was just such a huge part of it. Gardening is definitely kind of like a learning curve, and I've kind of learned along the way. And I think that's also what's happened with a lot of the work that I've done, because my mom and I, who are the main staff at Katie's Crops, we obviously didn't know anything when we started about how to run a nonprofit, how to do all of this. And we've kind of just learned along the way and tried to turn obstacles into opportunities. And I think that's how we've been able to continue to go year after year, is instead of seeing something and be like, oh, that might make things really hard, saying, oh, well, maybe we can turn it into this opportunity, and kind of continue to channel the optimism from when I was a youth.
Awesome. Do you have any tips for anyone that wants to start a nonprofit?
I think that the greatest tip that I can give is really to just get started, to find your passion project, what you want to do, the difference that you want to make, and start getting involved in that work. And you'll start making connections with people. And that's really what happened for me, is I started doing this immediately. I wasn't really had no idea what it was going to turn into. I didn't know that 13 years later, this would be my full-time job. I would get to do what I love every day, and Katie's Crops would have grown from one cabbage seedling to 100 gardens across the United States. But I just started to do it. I started to do it, and I made these connections with people. And I found people that were the same age as me that were passionate about things and kind of working towards the same goals, and connected with them and found mentors and found people that kind of helped guide me along the way. But my biggest tip is just to start and kind of see where it goes from there, because that's really how everything got started for me. And it led me down just this wonderful path. And I made so many incredible connections with people that were doing similar work, fighting hunger, and also people who were young individuals starting other nonprofits, and they shared tips with me, and they kind of told me how they had gone about things. And it was a really great learning experience for me.
That's amazing. Thank you. What has been the most life-changing or inspirational moment that you have experienced while helping others, if you can narrow it down?
Oh, that's such a tough one. I think there has been so many incredible moments for me. And oh my goodness, over the past 13 years, just so many people that I have come in contact with and grown so close to. I definitely would say that the individuals that I help with the meal distributions have really changed my life. They have watched me graduate elementary school, middle school, high school, and now college. And just getting to grow up with them and spend so much time with them, we celebrated so many milestones together. And they inspire me to continue to do what I do every day, because I just can't imagine not getting to see them, not getting to spend time with them, not being there for them. We've had, especially during times of COVID, we've had people come through the line just crying and saying how incredibly grateful they were, and that they didn't know how they were going to feed their families, and this was just such a blessing to them. We have come in contact with so many incredible people. There was great grandparents that we were really close to, and they had contact, or they had custody of their great grandchildren, and they were just doing all that they could to provide the best life for them, but they were both not in good enough health to be working. And so we helped them out and grew very close with them. And it's just special relationships like that, I think, that make this work just so amazing and so worth it, no matter how difficult it is. I will never forget, last year I celebrated my 22nd birthday. It was actually on the day of a meal distribution. And when I was doing the phone call reminder, I was like, I'm so excited that I get to spend my birthday with y'all. And guests came through, and they had made me cards, and they had brought balloons and brought cupcakes, and it was just so incredibly sweet. Every person that came from the line was like, we're so excited we get to spend your birthday with you. One of the guests actually called the news and said, it is very important that you come because it's Katie's birthday. And it was just the sweetest thing, just to be surrounded by so many people who I love so much, and who I know love me and all of the Katie's Crops family so much. So I know it's not one particular moment, but they just make it so worth it. And it's just every moment with them really is just the best.
You're such an inspiration. I'm having such a hard time even comprehending it. And I really want to hire you. Can you come over to California, be part of my programs? I think you would be such an asset to our programs. But you're also making a great difference out there where you are, so you can stay put. It looks like Jeff has a question. Have you connected with a student who may have been struggling in school, but their work with you in the garden helped inspire them to work harder in school?
So we definitely have connected with a lot of students in schools. We try to do kind of a lot of work with students in schools, especially students who may be a part of backpack programs, getting the free and reduced price breakfast and lunches and things like that, because it's just incredible for them to be able to grow the produce at their school and then be able to bring it home and help with their families. And I know just all the students in the schools that we work with, they take such pride in the gardens, and they are really so excited about getting to watch the gardens grow, getting to see their hard work pay off. We had a garden in Florida, and it was actually located at the bus area where all the students would wait for the buses after school, because one of the teachers noticed that the kids had to wait a fairly long time for everyone to get on the bus, and kids were starting to get in trouble, and he wanted to find a good outlet for them. So he put a garden there, and the students got to work in the garden while they waited for the bus. And it was so awesome. It gave them such purpose after school. They were so excited about it. And then they also got to take the produce home with them. So it's a lot of cool stories like that. We also do a lot of work with special needs students in schools, and a lot of them have found the garden to be really their happy place. We have sensory gardens at one of the schools in our area that is for the autistic children, and they absolutely love it. And we actually have a boy in Maine who was a part of the Katie's Crops growing family, and he started the garden, and then he found out that gardening was really his passion and what he wanted to do with his life. And because of his time as a Katie's Crops grower, he decided to pick gardening as his vocation, and now is on that path for the rest of his life, and kind of figured that out during his time as a grower. So there's been a lot of cool stories of kids who realize what they want to do from this experience, and realize just, I mean, the leadership that they can learn, the responsibility, where their food comes from, being good stewards of the earth. There's just so many lessons that can come from the garden, and it's always so great to see kids kind of utilizing the garden as an amazing resource.
I'm so glad that you bring up special needs folks. My sister is a teacher in Colorado, and she teaches those with special needs as well. And I'm glad you brought that up, but I'm wondering, how would one start a sensory garden? What does that entail?
So the sensory garden that we started, I don't remember everything, so I don't want to give any wrong information, but we have some very close family friends who were actually teaching at the school, and one of them started the school. So we provided the infrastructure for the garden. And with the sensory garden, I think a lot of it was the children loved being able to kind of get to see the plants grow, and just the garden really was a safe space for them, and somewhere where they felt really calm and really got to just be out and be one with nature. But I don't know everything that was involved in the sensory garden, because I still was in college, so I got to come visit every once in a while, but I didn't get to spend as much time there as I would have liked. But I do know just how much the students enjoyed it. I actually got to talk to the students via Zoom a couple of times at that school, and they would just tell me how much they loved the garden, how much they loved working in the garden, and how excited they were every day to kind of go out and see the garden. So I think it was something that was really meaningful for them, and I would love to kind of continue to do that. We also try to make sure that all of our gardens are wheelchair accessible, so that those with disabilities as well can still have access, still come out and work in the garden. That's why a lot of our gardens have raised beds and the clear pathways, so that individuals who are in wheelchairs can make sure that their wheelchairs can fit and that they can still come and help out.
Awesome. How do we ensure that we can get more gardens and just more food in general to other marginalized folks? We know that marginalized folks have higher rates of food insecurity and often live in food deserts. So how can we try and support more gardens in those areas? How can we reach out to those kids to start their own gardens?
That is something that we are always working towards. We have been trying to kind of break into those areas where there are big food deserts, and there are people who the closest food to them is not healthy options, or those on food stamps who simply can't afford to buy fresh produce because of the rising costs of it. I think really just us trying to spread the word and let people know in those areas about becoming a Katie's Crops grower to get the garden started. That's something that we really strive to do. And we also have implemented a Seeds for Change program. So we do this program every spring, and we send seeds to individuals and families across the United States. Anyone can apply for seeds, and we send them out. And then the type of seeds we send is kind of based on where they're located, their growing zone, and allow them to just start growing in their community to help themselves, help their friends, their neighbors, anyone who might need produce. But I think the key is really just to get the word out to people in those areas, let them know that we want to help and we want to empower them to get access to healthy, fresh produce. But it has been something that we have been struggling with. We have so badly wanted to break in and have a garden in Mississippi now for the longest time, because I know that there are a lot of food deserts there, and there are a lot of people who also really need access to the fresh produce. And there's high rates of obesity there, and we want to kind of get kids involved there and empower them to start a garden and be able to share healthy, fresh produce with their communities. So it's really just about getting the word out. And I know sometimes it can be incredibly hard, because for us, especially with our meal distributions, we found that some of the best ways to get the word out to marginalized communities and people who may need it most isn't always on social media. We put a lot of flyers at the local libraries, the YMCA's, places where people tend to frequent, so that they can be aware of what we're doing. So it's still a work in progress for us. And I think the biggest thing is really trying to figure out how to reach these communities and let them know about the amazing resources near them and how much people really want to help.
Trying to think, and I don't think I know anyone in Mississippi.
If anyone knows anyone in Mississippi, we've been trying for years. We would love to have a garden there.
All right, well, this will be on YouTube afterwards. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, how can they get in touch with you? Should they email you through the site?
Yes, so if anyone's looking to get in touch about anything, our website is a great resource. You can email me directly from the website. There's also, if you're looking for information on the grant, there's lots of information on the Becoming Katie's Crops Grower page. And if they're looking for ways to kind of help in their communities or things like that, and also if they're looking for any ways to support us, all that information is on our website as well. We have kind of a wish list on there of things we can use for our meal distributions and for our gardens and our gardens across the country, as well as kind of all of that information. So everything's on our website, and it's katiescrops.com, Katie with a K and crops with a K.
Awesome. I'm glad you brought up like a wish list and support, because that was one of my questions. If folks have some extra cash during the holidays and wanted to support you, how do they best do that? Also, I know that they have like Amazon Smile. Do you participate in that?
Yes, so we do participate in Amazon Smile. We also have on our website, we have our wish list with everything. We have an Amazon wish list too, actually, so people can just make it quick and easy and go right on Amazon. And then we also have our Venmo and our PayPal on there, and a link to kind of donate directly through our website as well. So all of that information is on there. And also, if you're looking for something to do around the holidays, I mean, obviously, I would love if you supported Katie's Crops, but also just thinking about really supporting your neighbors in need. People are going through incredibly tough times right now, especially with the pandemic and with rising gas prices and food shortages. So just think about doing something nice for a neighbor, someone you know who is struggling, or even for your local food pantry, homeless shelter, soup kitchen, just bringing over some extra food, some fresh produce. It would make such a big difference, especially right now.
That's beautiful. Man, I had a question related to something in there that you said, and then I totally lost it, but it'll come back to me, I'm sure. Oh, if people wanted to like get involved with your organization remotely and do some sort of volunteering, do you have needs for that, whether it's like social media marketing or reaching out to maybe local schools to get them to talk to their kids? Do you have any volunteer needs?
Yes, we can always use help with all of that. Katie's Crops is a very small team. It's really just my mom and I who are employees of Katie's Crops, I guess you could say, and then just our core group of volunteers. So we can always use volunteers to help with that. With if someone knows of a grant that they think we would be a good fit for, or knows somebody that they think we should reach out to, or wants to reach out on our behalf or things like that, definitely let us know, because we can always use help with that. We're always looking for ways to continue to grow and expand. And if there's anything in your community that you think might be a good fit for us or something we should be aware of, definitely let us know. And you can do all of that through our website as well.
Cool. Sometimes I get grants that come my way that are not pertinent to me because I'm on some of these listservs. But if I see one related to gardening, I'll definitely send them your way.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Hard to find. Green Ribbon School in SC, South Carolina, Dutch Fork Elementary School. Cool. Yeah. So Jeff is a local high school teacher out here, and he is involved in green schools and is a, Jeff, I might get this wrong, a UN ambassador for the SDGs. Is that right? Yeah. So Sustainable Development Goals, which are super cool. Also, I wonder if there's a way if you could like tie in SDGs to your website, Sustainable Development Goals around zero hunger and stuff. That might be interesting because we're trying to get SDGs taught more into schools. Anyway, I digress. So it sounds like there's a Green Ribbon School in South Carolina that could be a good starting.
Or a green
You
ribbon.
know them?
I looked for a green ribbon school in Mississippi, but unfortunately, they're one of the states that I don't really promote it that much. But I did find one in South Carolina. But if you don't mind, I'll search for a contact for a school in Mississippi. I'm real good friends with a professor at Louisiana State University. So I'll reach out to him and see if he knows anyone in Mississippi for you.
That would be awesome. Yeah, definitely. We would love to. Last year, we kind of shied away from schools, and now schools are beginning to be in person again and everything. We really want to get kind of the kids involved again with gardens. So we would absolutely love that. And I've actually heard of Dutch Fork before. So I'll definitely have to look into how to get into contact with them as well.
Do you work with any universities? As you were kind of speaking, I was thinking, because I work at a university, so I have university brain on the mind. I was thinking about how the community garden that I do a lot of work at out here, we have some raised beds, and they were built by some engineering students from the university as part of like an engineering service learning project, I believe. And because we also have a community engagement center, and at this community engagement center, my director, Burnett, sometimes will connect our students with local schools to do various projects. And is there any room, like, do you ever work with universities to then work with kids as well to support and start some of these gardens?
Yes, I think as you were talking, I was like putting all the pieces together, and I was like, that sounds like an incredible opportunity. No, definitely. I think it would be awesome to kind of get everyone engaged, because we are a youth-based organization and we really want to kind of get youth involved, but also connecting them with individuals in college could be a great opportunity for them to kind of gain mentors as well and everything. So I think that's definitely something that we will be thinking about in the future, because I do love that idea. And I know that having just graduated from college, I was always kind of, obviously I have my work with Katie's Crops, but I knew a lot of my friends were always looking for something to get involved in. And they would come back to Somerville with me and kind of work with Katie's Crops. But I know if there was something at the university or at the college, that they would love to get involved with that. So that is a great idea, and I will have to start thinking about that.
Yeah, I think it could be beneficial for a lot of folks, right? So the students, maybe they can get some sort of internship credit through their university, and then the kids get to start a garden, and then people get the food. And then maybe we have, more future gardeners, hopefully. So I don't know, it could be really great.
It's perfect.
Cool. I have a question about the cabbage. What is your favorite cabbage recipe?
So I am part Polish. And so for the life of me, it's just like completely gone over my head. Oh, my family would be so disappointed. We have cabbage every Christmas. And oh my goodness, I cannot think of what the dish is called. Oh, it's going to bother me so much now. We have cabbage every Christmas, and oh my goodness, I can't think of it.
So it's a Polish cabbage recipe.
Yes. Oh, it's gonna eat me alive.
Is it kapusta?
Yes, it is kapusta.
Okay.
So I love that. It's a family tradition of ours. And so that is always delicious. I also love a good coleslaw, but honestly, cabbage isn't necessarily my favorite vegetable to eat. It happens to be the one that I got the luckiest at growing. But I would say kapusta or coleslaw would be my favorite cabbage recipe.
Okay. If you have a good one, feel free or do you just make it by heart? Or do you have a recipe that you pull from?
So I always work with my grandmother, and she kind of is the ringleader on that one, and I kind of just help her out. But I'll have to ask her about that.
Okay, if you do find a good recipe for it and you want to have us send it out, we can do that. I'll just pull the generic one probably from the website and just include that in my update email, one that sounds tasty, because I've never actually had this either. Am I saying that right? Kapusta?
Yes, it's so delicious. And it just always makes me so happy. It makes me think of just kind of hanging out with my family and celebrating the holidays.
Interesting. All right, I'm gonna need to do a little deep diving on this. Never heard of it. It's so interesting with just the different cultures and food. I am not Polish, I'm Irish. So I was trying to think of like cabbage recipes. We just did straight cabbage when I was a kid. It would be like, what is the meat? Now that's escaping me.
Corned beef.
Yes, yeah, it would always be just corned beef and cabbage.
I do love red cabbage too. Red cabbage is probably one of my favorites. My mom makes red cabbage and just kind of sautés it, and it's so delicious.
That sounds amazing. Awesome. All right, so we have 5 minutes. So I have my interns watch these films and then I had them pull a couple of questions. My intern Shayla asked a really interesting one. And her question is, what is a personality trait that all the subjects in the documentary have in common?
Ooh, I like that question. That's a great question. I would say, I think just drive and kind of like determination, because I know I was fortunate enough to meet Alan in person. He is incredible and he's faced a lot of challenges, but he's never ever let them kind of stand in his way or prevent him from continuing to serve his community. And Krishnan is amazing. I was never lucky enough to get to meet him in person, but just seeing what he has done and how he could have easily just kind of turned a blind eye, but instead he persevered and just did amazing work. So I think really just not letting anything stand in the way of fighting hunger and of what we believed in, and just really working to make a difference and make an impact despite any obstacles that we might have faced.
Beautiful. Then I wanted to also take a minute too. Like Hannah, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or unmute if you'd like as well. Just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity. Priya, I hope I'm saying your name right too. If you have any others, feel free. So what is the future of Katie's crops? Do you want to scale internationally? What kind of goals do you have?
I would love to scale internationally. Right now, we do have 2 gardens in Africa, but we would really love to. So I want to get gardens in all 50 states across the United States and then really work towards scaling internationally as well. I think that it would just be incredible to really just to have gardens all across the world. That is a huge dream of mine. I know that hunger is such a huge issue and such a multifaceted issue, but I am a firm believer that working together, we can make a huge impact, and really just showing youth and showing people how much fun gardening is and how much of a difference that you can make with just one seedling. You could change someone's life forever. And so definitely getting gardens in all 50 states across the United States and then expanding internationally is kind of the direction we are going towards. We're also working on really expanding our educational models as well. we just opened up our outdoor classroom that I was talking about earlier in March of this year, and that's just been a huge success. And we're working on kind of finishing up the actual infrastructure for the classroom area and getting more classes involved in that. And then I would love to kind of work on expanding our educational model as well, because I think there's just so many lessons that can come from the garden. And I would love to be able to kind of help spread the word about that.
So I love this idea of education, and you're talking about an outdoor classroom, and I'm perusing your site again. And I'm wondering if like there's a way to, and maybe you're already doing this, but to live stream some of these topics, educations, right? Because like not everyone can come out to the classroom and so on. Is there any?
Something that we definitely want to do. We're kind of need to finish up getting the infrastructure all set up. One of the things we're working towards is running power towards the classroom. So if we're able to do that, then we would be able to do the live streams, because that's something that I would really love to do and get more kids able to really get to watch the live streams that are going on and watch the classes, because we talk about some incredible things. So it'd be really cool to engage more people. So that is something we are working on for sure.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Jeff, I would love for you, if you want, to unmute, because I feel like there's a little bit of context maybe you probably could add, since I know you so well.
Yes, Katie, if you don't mind, we're working with a sister school. In fact, we're connecting as a Green Ribbon School to help them out, called Green Net School. They're in Nainuki, Kenya. The school is an all-girls school called Dajua Academy. And we're helping them green their school by helping them get solar suitcases with battery backups. We're also helping out. Basically, they don't have water. They have to walk a mile to a river, and it's contaminated, so they have to boil it. So we're getting Rotary clubs around the area to sponsor them with the atmospheric water generators, which takes the humidity out and gives them clean drinking water. But at the same time, they're trying to expand their garden. So would you mind collaborating with us with the Green Net School with the?
Yes, definitely. I do have to run in a minute, but I would love if you would email me and we can kind of figure something out, because I think that would be amazing and I would love to help out with that. Here, I will type my email. Perfect. So definitely send me an email, because I would love to talk more about that.
Thank you.
Awesome. I want to respect your time. I know you have to go. So I just want to wrap this up. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Katie, for coming and for your advocacy and your work. And I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great to talk with you all today, and I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their day.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.